Years and years and years ago, I got real lucky and was able to work with some French-Canadian loggers that had horses. And I was just fascinated with the horse logging and being in the woods in New England anyways. And we got to see enough of that to where I knew this was going to be my life work. I came to Sisters, Oregon in 1975 and started cutting timber. Out here in the woods, the team is me, myself, and I most days. I do have a log yard in Sisters that recycles some of the material that will come from here, and we sell that as firewood. We have processing machines, and we sell posts and poles and sawdust and other things.
So Dave has really set the gold standard in Central Oregon for operators. When Dave comes into a property, he really comes in at kind of like an artist. Comes in through with a mosaic, the way that he thins it. Historically, if we looked at when a fire would come through, we'd have mosaic burn. So, you'd have some areas that would be high intensity, some areas of low intensity. That's how Dave, when he is out here working on these properties, he does that. He takes that approach, leaving nice wildlife corridors, leaving half-acre to acre areas for wildlife habitat. Then he'll go through and he'll thin a stand to 200 to 500 trees per acre, where that stand at one point was at 5,000 to 2,000 trees per acre.
I look more and more at thinning as sort of a payback, a way to stay in the woods and to enhance the forest instead of just harvest from it.
Dave's projects are consistently above and beyond the forest practices and meet both his and my personal standards of what a project should look like.
In Central Oregon, what we've seen in the last 5 to 10 years is a lot of mass migration from all over California, Washington, Idaho, moving into the area because it's a great place for recreation. Dave has been a huge proponent in talking with these new landowners, have somebody who has no idea how to manage a forest, and Dave can come in and explain the science behind why he's doing the work that he's completing, and then what they need to do, and then how long it needs to be managed, and when the rotation should be. And he's been very excellent on getting some of these people, up to par.
Treating your forest land is critical, and it's the best and cheapest insurance you can buy to assure that your lands are going to be here for a while, for your children, for your grandchildren. This type of stand in particular, untreated, is guaranteed to burn flat to the ground.
Once logging really started to decrease in Central Oregon, about the 1990s, we started to see this overabundance, and then we started to see these large fires that were taking place, that were large stand replacing fires that were historically not here in Central Oregon.
So the goal on a job like this one here is to space out the trees, pick the healthy ones, call out the dead and dying, and in particular, remove the ladder fuel that's underneath these trees so that when the fire does come through here, which it almost definitely will, this stand is going to survive.
We're going to see another fire in this landscape, and without the work that was completed here, this forest might not be here.
This parcel that we're on is near Black Butte Ranch in Oregon, and it was logged many years ago by railroad, and at that time it was clear cut. So there wasn't a large tree left standing anywhere on this whole section of land, and consequently it grew up in very dense thickets.
The importance of having operators such as Dave Elfie is to mimic what those fires would be, so get our fuel loading back to historical norms.
Basically, to do a job like this takes a lot of brush mowing first. We get rid of all the ladder fuels, we do some pruning, and then we do selective tree cutting to the point where this place should be healthy.
So by having operators like Dave come in and do that mechanical thinning, we're recreating what a fire would do on a scale maybe a little bit smaller, but it's overall helping the landscape, getting us back to where when we do have these fires, they're not stand replacing.
We will go in and mow a lot of the small trees out first with our masticating mowers. That takes care of the brush. Then we shear trees anywhere from 3 or 4 inches up to about a foot in diameter to get the spacing feel right. But very small, intermediate sized trees, we're unable to do that. So then we go in with chainsaws and we cut the very small trees. The tree thinning is a long drawn out grind. It takes a lot of time and money. We use low impact machines that don't utilize a lot of diesel fuel. So in that way, we're pretty green.
So Dave is a very consistent operator that we have in Central Oregon. When we come up onto Dave's units, they all are very similar. Not a lot of tree scarring left. The impact that he's made with his machinery, it's very small. He's very strategic on where he puts his skid trails at, making sure that they're going to have the least amount of impact.
The mastication is the most cost-effective fuel reduction available anywhere as far as I'm concerned. It almost matches underburning, and it's fast. It's a one-day service. When I get done at the end of the day, this parcel is going to be fire safe. I can walk away from it knowing that if it burns, it's not going to take the trees with us.
What Sisters Forest Products and Dave does by opening the stand and creating gaps and clumps and all those, the mosaic that he does is really opens it up for the understory grasses to grow. Grows it so the trees can be healthy and vigorous and grow to a more mature state, and allows for the wildlife that are in the area to have bedding areas, to have feeding areas. Really brings it back more to what the natural forests would have looked like pre-settlement before we started suppressing fire.
What Dave has done is made this resilient where, you know, my kids and my kids' kids are going to be able to come back and enjoy this.
You just can't do better by the land than to thin it and treat it for forest health.